This is NDTV, and you're watching Classics.
These days, if you don't know who to believe on the economy, well, my guest today is somebody whose every word you can hang on to because the buck stops on his desk. Mr Chidambaram, PC2 friends, the new finance minister.
Hi. Morning.
Should be a nice feeling to be back in your old office, even though it's the first week and lots of work to do.
Yeah, it's been a very busy first week, but one likes to do things one is familiar with rather than get into unfamiliar territory. I'm conscious that the buck stops here, but the buck starts in many other buildings, many other ministries. And in a coalition government, I think it's important for everyone to pull together and move in the same direction. I think it will gel, it will fall in place. And I think in about 2-3 weeks and after the first short session of Parliament, I expect that things will get moving.
But you know, when we say buck stops here, it's a huge buck. It's also very different from what it was the last time you were here, because then Narayan Murthy, Premji and BPO were not household words, nor were Sitaram Yechuri and A.B. Bardhan. So things have changed a great deal.
Well, yes and no. Many of the colleagues we are working with, both in government and outside, are familiar faces. We have worked with them between 96 and 98. Some of them were ministers in the UF government. Many were ministers in the Congress government. So none of them is actually a stranger to me or to government. The second thing that has happened is that the economy is much more robust. Thanks to the first years of reform, then what we built in 2 years of UF government, and even the BJP government. While I have my differences with them, you have to concede that inflation is quite stable, the economy is in a growth mode, and reserves are extremely comfortable. If you want a contrast, you must go back to 91, not 96.
Right. Right, 91 is when things were...
91 was a picture of gloom.
Right.
I still remember the day when Governor Reserve Bank walked in with his deputy governor, very
Morose.
stealthily pulled out a little chit of paper from his pocket and whispered that reserves were something like, what, $1.1 billion. I mean, it was a frightening prospect. Today, we can afford to take a few risks. We can afford to stretch a point and see, let's see what happens here. $118 billion of reserves, stable inflation, currency stable. I think it gives me much more room to experiment with ideas.
Today, in fact, you have a very enviable position when at least 20 Indian companies could go out in the markets and raise $1 billion.
Yes.
If they wish to.
Yes. And that is, we have never tried a sovereign bond.
Right.
But in the absence of that, you find Indian companies able to raise money close to a rate at which the sovereign can raise money.
Right.
But that means that Indian companies have acquired muscle.
Right.
And all this has happened over the last 13 years. We must be proud of that.
Right.